dancing through the world alone.
Hey boys and girls, welcome back. I got another pattern here for you. Something I'm gonna be getting back into here for the winter months. Using a lot of a product that's called Nymphskin. I don't know if you've ever seen it or not, but it creates, just incredible segmentation, for mayflies, for caddis, for anything. And there's a couple little tricks that I've learned, since I started using it a couple years ago, that tend to make it stand out a little bit better. And a couple different products that you can apply to it to keep the colors on it somewhat better than other. I'll show you some of the ingredients here. What we have here is a 3mm Insta-Jig head. That's by Hairline. I have Swiss straw on here for the wings. The hook, one of my favorites, Firehole 718. A little bit longer shank on it. These are the Nymphskins. This one is translucent, and they come in every color you can imagine. This one I like because you can color it yourself to make what you want. And as far as the thread that we're using, what I have on here is Semperfli Nano Silk Orange, and we are also going to be using a little bit of mono here for a rip. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. This type of pattern, I'm sure you've seen spinners in the water. Not really a winter pattern, but after the mayfly dies, they land, wings are all spread out. Most times you see them floating on the top and little whirlpools and things like that. But it's a lot of times also, when I'm straining the creek for bugs and things like that, see what I can find what's in the water. They wash up all the time, so that they're sinking. And it seems unfair that guys that dry fly fish can do that, and we don't have an advantage like we do with this. So this is something to beat that. And what we started with here, I do these like in bunches. These Insta-Jig heads have to be glued on or secured somehow. I do them half a dozen at a time here, and we'll go ahead and get this started. One of the other things that I didn't say that we're using for the tails is horsetail. Here, been using this with everything I can, from everything from legs to tails to trying to wrap the hook with it. The stuff is incredible as far as the material. It feels like wire, it maintains its stiffness, but it doesn't break when you bend it. So we're going to tie our thread on here, go down to almost a drop. I'm going to tie our tails on here. I like these to be a little bit longer, especially on these spinners. So I'll tie that on there. I'm using this bright orange nano silk for a reason too. We'll get to that in a second. I cut these off at least the length of the shank, if not a little bit longer. And we'll get them on there, and then we'll straighten them out and secure them a little bit better. So try putting one on each side of the hook. Oop. Put on my super specs. Okay, and like with typical mayfly tails, we want to separate them. Putting the string underneath it. That one keeps wanting to go squirrely on me. Okay. Once you get those in place, you can cut them to length. You can put that aside. Then I gotta get a piece of mono, if I can pick it up. I'm gonna put this right on top of the hook. This is 5X, just FYI. That's just what I have sitting here. Okay. I'm gonna start building up this body a little bit on the way back. Try to keep this on the top. Okay, and we're gonna get our nymph skin. And what this stuff is, it's kind of like a latex glove. And I've seen, you know, glove bugs is what they call them, to where you just cut up a latex glove. I can't use latex, but or touch latex rather. I'm allergic. But what we want to do with this, cut this at an angle here, about the halfway point. We're gonna tie in that tip first. If I can get it in there. I'm gonna secure that down, then stretch it. You can pull on this stuff pretty hard. It's pretty durable. Doesn't really need a rib. I've tied plenty of bugs without the rib, but I saw a guy, I don't know where he was, I think he was over in Russia, that was doing a lot of these things, and most of his patterns that he was using this nymph skin for, you know, he was putting a rib on it, but it was where he was placing the rib that made the difference in the way that it looked. And you can see that this stuff is very transparent. So to use this bright orange nano silk underneath, you are going to get some bleed through. So, and that's kind of intended. Trying to build up this thorax to make sure that it's uniform. Kind of a carrot shaped if you want. I also tie a lot of caddis, so I mean these things, this nymph skin is really good for that type of thing, because you can really get some of that detail in it, because fish can see that, you know, it's important. Okay, I'm gonna tie this off, hang it. Now, when we're using this thin skin, probably the first turn is the most important, and I typically will try to stretch it out so that it's as thin as can be. And then on the second wrap, get to the top there, and the tension is what's important with this. If you pull it so tight, you're not going to see any segmentation. So you almost kind of want to just lay it over there, overlapping turns. I don't want to cover that up so you can see what it's going to look like here. Normally I just place my finger on the top and hold it down. Stretch it out a little too much. Okay, I'm going to take it right up to the bead there. Tie this off. Start to fill in this jig head here.
We've been dancing through the world alone lately.
Okay, so before you cut it, give it a stretch. It'll be nice and flush for you. Tie that down a little bit. Tie this off again. Hang it. Now with this, I always try to go underneath of the tails, just to with that first wrap, just so we can get them square there. Okay, now when you wrap this around, I know you can't see it on the camera, but when it's in front of you, you can actually see these little ridges that we have here. Okay. The idea with the rib is to wrap inside of this leading edge. And what you're doing is basically compressing the wrap in front. And you're also making the nymph skin a little bit more transparent because you're putting pressure on it, and it's going to show this mono almost as like an orange type rib, if you can, tell that from the video there. Okay. Clip that. Okay. Tie that down. And we're going to tie this off here again. Now, this is the part where your creativity can come in here. As far as coloring these, I got a whole bunch of different markers that I use. It is best if you do it in layers. So when you see, a bug in the stream, especially like a mayfly, summertime mayflies, they get probably about this big. This is, maybe 3/8 of an inch here, total length. But yeah, they're all different colors, so they're not just brown, they're not just yellow, they're brown and yellow and different shades of brown and yellow. So a little trick here that I figured out, some of the things that after you put the color on them, obviously you want to protect it. You want the color to stay there, because it is some type of a rubber or latex or something similar that if it gets brushing up against something, it gets wet, it's not really porous to the point that it is retaining the color that you put on it. So in the past, what I've done is just put some UV on it. But when I went through my box this spring, I found a lot of UV bugs, and hopefully you can see this. This is a little caddis pattern, that is the same as this, very similar, just not in color. Put the thin skin on, no wire wrap or no mono wrap, and then you cover it with UV. And at first it showed some good segmentation, but over time you can't even tell what's in there now. You can tell that something's wrapped, but it's turned just kind of opaque and grayish. When I was first learning some of these ties, I had asked some guys up at the fly shops, when I'm watching them, you see all these guys over in Europe using like hard as nails or nail polish to put that on there. And I asked that question. I was like, it just seemed like UV was such a superior product. Why would you use something that, is less superior? Well, that might be the answer. It's because over time, those, that UV can just kind of lose its luster a little bit. When you use this hard as nails, it will get down into the grooves and it will absorb into the string and stuff that's in there. The UV does not. So I'll show you a little trick when we get the finished coloring here, that we can, show you some differences here. Now, the important thing when you are coloring these, only go one direction. I'm coloring from the head to the tail, and I am not pushing down. I'm just barely brushing it. That's on there. And hopefully you can see those little ridges and things like that. If you push down too much, you're going to color inside that ridge, and you kind of want it open. That's your segmentation. So you want it to be visible. Here is next color. It's kind of like a light grayish green, and with most of these bugs, they have a base color, which you're seeing on the bottom here. And this gray is just darkening this up a little bit. I do not go onto the belly with these darker colors, because most times the belly is going to be lighter color. Okay, so there's that. And I got two color browns. I use the lighter one first, and each layer is covering the top less and less. So the top brown layer will basically just be a dark strip down the middle of the bug, whereas the lighter brown color is going to leave a little bit of that gray, around the bottoms. It's hard to see on that. So on the top here, it's going to be darker, closer to where the wing pad would be. Going to be lighter at the tail. Okay, that's what we're looking at. Try that up a little bit. The one thing you want to try to avoid is over coloring. I mean, especially with this next trick, that, using this hard as nails stuff, there's alcohol in here. Okay, so when you're applying alcohol to, a pen or something like that, it's a solvent. So it's going to lighten up that color a little bit. But what the neat trick is with this hard as nails, is kind of makes everything bleed together, and you can control that a little bit by obviously how much product you're going to be putting on. So what I do is get the hard as nails on here and try to brush off as much as you can off the edge of the vial, and then you're going to paint from the top to the sides. And when you do this yourself, you could probably see that it kind of bleeds everything in together. You don't need a lot of this, that's kind of the idea. There you go. That looks awesome. Okay. We're going to let this dry for a minute or two, and then come back and finish it. Okay guys, we're back. What I would tell you to do, just blow on that for a minute or two. That just make sure that everything dries up the way that it's supposed to. And I lost. I deny dubbing. All right, so as far as our dubbing goes, what we use, this is some rainbow scud, which I like for multiple reasons. And then I took kind of like an olive-ish Spectra blend and some pine squirrel. This one's a little bit more gray than the fox squirrel. Mix them all together. The nice thing about that that rainbow scud, it has obviously, it's a rainbow. It has lots of different fibers in it, but the neat thing about it, it has a lot of like clear fibers, so that when you dub it on and brush it out, those clear fibers and little red fibers, little gold fibers, are all mixed together. They don't spin very well, but when you brush it out and you can kind of pull off some of the extra dubbing, it it looks great for legs, and that's kind of what we're looking for when we have bugs like this. Okay, there's our dubbing. You can finish there if you want. Just fish this as a regular nymph. The neat little trick that we have with the Swiss straw, okay, if you've ever seen this stuff, it comes on a card, and when you unfold it, it's probably about a 2-inch sheet of this, 2 inches wide. I cut them in 4s, and this is probably about a 1/4 inch wide slip. When we are going to put this on, we're going to tie this right over top of the bead. So when you get a piece of this cut out, probably about 2 inches would be enough. What you're going to do is just pinch the middle of that and try to keep these ends, flat and the same. Don't worry so much about length. And then we're going to take this and twist it so that we have a piece that looks like a bow tie. Okay? So we're going to take our bow tie, we're going to lay that over the front of the bead and cross over right in the middle where that little twist was. Cross over that twice. And then we're going to go around this one and do the same thing on this side. Okay. Kind of see where we're going with this. Let me tie this in. Okay. So we're just going to tie this off. Those wings aren't going to go anywhere. Tie that off. Just stab myself with my scissors. Now, lay these out, a little flat like this. Okay, depending on which way they'll twist to look a little bit better. And then you're gonna, obviously you can see that this is squared off. What you want to do is make a long triangle. Okay, that seems really long, doesn't it? Maybe we should trim that back a little bit. When you see the Swiss straw in the water, it's very faint. So this bug is going to get down. This is not going to affect the way that it sinks very much, but it might affect, how the water moves around it. So, I really haven't had any issues with that. But play with it, you know. If so, just decrease the size of the wing. Next, we're gonna get just some black solar res. You can use whatever color you want. And I try to put a tiny drop right in the middle there, where that wing is tied down. Okay. We're gonna wrap this. I'm curious to know why the solar res stinks so bad. It does seem, this black seems to take a long time to cure. Okay. Now we're gonna get our brush. Brush some of this out. Not too much. Gotta remember, this is technically an adult mayfly. Okay, and if you can see these little fibers in here, the color of them, this is all that rainbow scud. You can pull off, you know, a little bit of that dubbing, and you know, that just looks incredible. Another little trick that you might want to try, if you want to color these, just hold a marker in the tip of your finger and stroke them up like that. You can turn them all black if you want, or whatever color, brown, things like that. But there you go, boys and girls. That is the sinking spinner. Tie some up, mix and match. You know, if you don't like the wings, keep the wings out. You know, I got all kinds of different ones that I tried here. I had a whole bunch of hooks I glued those points on. That's just a nymph. This one has just little wings on it. Not necessarily a spinner. That's the other spinner. But yeah, try them. See what you guys can catch on them. They look great. And yeah, fish like that, you know, distinctive tail. I don't know. I think that's a big plus. So tie some up, see what you can catch. Let me know how you do. All right. Thanks for stopping by, guys. We'll see you.